Hey everybody, Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith here, and you can ask me anything. I don't need to tell you, but there's a whole lot going on around our state, our country, and our world right now, so let's dive into it. Gabriel Landis asks, you said you were against flock cameras. What are you doing to actually remove flock cameras and similar mass surveillance systems in the state? Well, Gabriel, thank you for asking this really important question. This is a huge conversation all around the country right now. First of all, I want to say I'm probably the most pro-law enforcement lieutenant governor the state has ever seen. We've had some good lieutenant governors, but I pride myself on making sure I stand with police, making sure they have the tools to do the job they need to do. They are the thin blue line, and we should absolutely support them. But when it comes to government surveillance, that's the question. Should government be allowed to surveil law-abiding U.S. citizens? I believe the answer is an emphatic no. I think the founding fathers would have said that very clearly as well. I think they did in places like the Fourth Amendment. So I don't want to see government get into the business of mass surveillance. I think that you can give law enforcement tools, but not mass surveillance. What can we do to stop it? Well, we need legislation. There's a lot of states that are looking at legislation. I know West Virginia has some legislation going through right now, and I think they've got a handle on this, hopefully, in a way that Indiana will soon jump into that as well. We've been talking to legislators in Indiana, and we are saying, hey, what can we do to put strong boundaries and regulations around how law enforcement uses these tools? I'll keep you posted. I don't know the answer, how we can curtail this, but we need to get out ahead of this, because if we don't, we will turn into a mass surveillance state, just like what you see in other parts of the world, where we don't want to go down that path. Our next question comes from Stacy Irving. Stacy writes, with kids going back to school, what can parents do if we find out teachers are pushing their woke agendas inside the classroom? Well, Stacy, this is a big issue, not just in Indiana, but across the nation. And while we think Indiana probably isn't as bad as other states in the union, we certainly have our fair share of woke indoctrination happening in public schools. I can tell you right now, the governor, myself, our team, we don't want that anywhere in our classrooms. The Attorney General has been very clear. He will go after schools that are doing this type of thing with the parent-teacher transparency portal that they have. And we want to make sure that we are aware of it so we can highlight it and we can fix it. So what do parents need to do? Parents need to let us know. We can't see inside of all 290 school districts within Indiana. We don't know what's going on. There are many, many good teachers. My mom was a public school teacher. My grandpa was a public school principal. Teachers are the salt of the earth doing great work. I want to make that clear. But there are bad apples, just like in every industry. And there will be teachers who abuse their responsibility and their power in the classroom. When that happens, and you as a mom or dads, if you're watching this, please, please, please let our office know, let the Attorney General know, let the governor know, because we will take action. We will highlight this. We don't have a wide swath of centralized authority in Indianapolis to just fire teachers or get rid of school employees that are doing this. However, we can bring the sunlight, and sunlight is the best disinfectant, and we can let Indiana know this is happening. School districts don't tend to like that type of publicity, and they usually fix the problem when it's highlighted in a big way. So please let us know. We're more than happy to highlight that stuff. It's for the good and the love of our children. We have to teach them what is true, good, right, and virtuous. That's what public education was founded on. That's what we need to get it back to. And what's happening is a lot of the nonsense that shouldn't be there has gotten there. So we need to stop it, and your help as a parent will be greatly appreciated. So thank you, Stacy. Next question comes from Jared McLeish. Jared asks, why are we giving data centers any sort of tax breaks instead of making sure they're held accountable for our resources and loss of property values and potential wages? Well, Jared, this is a hot topic around our state, absolutely. I want to let you know that I hear you. I am a ardent defender of our beautiful land in Indiana, our agriculture land. As Secretary of Ag, I want to make sure that we protect our farmers, protect our property values. I want to make sure that we are doing things that will give this land to our children and children's children for years to come, to make sure it maintains the beauty that we have been blessed to see and live with ourselves. But data centers are part of the new trend. I mean, and honestly, I wouldn't even say it's a trend. This is a longstanding economic viable industry that is happening all across the country and the world right now. And so we have to recognize there is a freedom of property owners that we don't want to infringe on to the point where they can't do with their property what they would like to do. Now, I will say this, the Constitution is not a suicide compact. Just because you might have a right to do something doesn't mean that you're always allowed to, because if it hurts other neighbors or other people's property values, then we're gonna take action. But I think when it comes to data centers, let's do it with wisdom. There's ways to preserve the resources. If you've seen the architectural drawings from my good friend Sarah Brown, she has an amazing plan for data centers that are beautiful, limestone buildings built in a botanical garden, have a self-sustaining, regenerative, basically environment to where it feeds itself and then just continues to recycle everything that it needs. Those are the types of creative, ingenious strategies that Hoosiers are bringing to the table right now. We're working to get that out. If you haven't seen that, go to the Indy Star, Google Sarah Brown. You will see a story that was just done on her and her drawings on what we could do to make data centers appealing to a state like Indiana. I think you'll be very, very encouraged when you see that. So let's do this wise. We're not going to sell out our resources. We're not going to waste our land or hurt our land. We're going to do it right. And let's make sure, too, last thing I'll say, protect local control. Listen, if you don't want it in your local communities, we don't want to force it there. I don't want to force it there. I don't think the governor wants to force it there. Let the locals decide what they can do, how they can do it. So get involved on a local level. If you're for data centers, then get involved locally. If you're against data centers, then get involved locally. Have this conversation play out at the local level. The best thing we can do as a state down in Indianapolis is to really defend local control and your authority at the local level to pick and choose what you let into your community. So I'm going to keep doing that, and I think the locals will make good decisions. People like you who are engaged are going to lead the charge on this. So thank you very much for that question. It's very, very important. Our next question comes from Curtius Maximus. Curtius writes, why don't people realize data centers are a part of national security? I've been saying the same thing, Curtius. This is absolutely a great point. We are in another space race, if you will, with China. Whoever wins the data center war will win the future for the next 50 years, maybe even 100 years. So we can't lose this fight. Data centers are incredibly important to our national security. I love what Secretary Hegseth said. We should just put them on military bases. So Camp Atterbury, Crane Naval Base that we have in Indiana, places like that, lots of land. We could put them there, and it could be stewarded by our military because it's a national security issue. That's a really great idea from the Trump administration. I fully support that. But if we lose this national security fight, it will be very bad for Americans. We do not want the data center strength and the data strength of the world resting in the communist hands over in China. So it's important America not take this battle for granted. And we got to ask all of ourselves, what can we do to help steward in this fight? And if we do that, I think we will be solidifying our strength for another 50 years. So let's be wise. Let's not get out over our skis, but let's make sure we tackle this head on because this is not going away. Our next question comes from Michael Clem. Michael writes, how old is the Earth? 6,972 years old. Our next question comes from Tina Cockerham. Tina writes, Indiana should join Florida and DeSantis in state charges against Dr. Death. What's your take on that? Tina, I called for this early on. After I saw Dr. Fauci's testimonies, I was appalled. His diaries explained everything we all knew to be true years ago, that he was a fraud, the guy was in it for his own well-being, and he should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Many people suffered and died because of his narcissism, and so we need to hold him accountable. I called for Indiana to do the same. I reached out to our Attorney General. The problem is, the Attorney General in Indiana does not have the same authority that the Attorney General in Florida has. I would love to see the state legislature here in Indiana give the Attorney General that authority to be able to prosecute. Right now, it would have to be county prosecutors bringing charges against Dr. Fauci. We couldn't do it as a state. But we are looking into that. I would love to see that happen. Let's give our Attorney General that type of authority to be able to go after bad actors like Dr. Fauci, who lied, manipulated, and hurt Hoosiers. So that's going to be something I'm going to be talking to legislators about in this upcoming legislative session. Our next question comes from Brian Gullery. Brian writes, in your video message to the mass deportation rally this past weekend, you said you don't want immigrants to bring their culture here. Does this apply to all immigrants or just the brown ones? Well, Brian, we have things like Cinco de Mayo. We have things like Italian Fest. We have things like St. Patty's Day. All of these things are beautiful pictures of a culture of other nations. You have St. Patty's Day, which is Irish, Ireland. You have Italian Fest, that's Italy. You have Cinco de Mayo, which is Mexico. All of these things represent places on the map. What I'm talking about when it comes to bringing culture here, it's ideology that does not fit in and align with the American value system. When you look at things like radical Islam, when you look at things like these people coming in who are bringing ideas that are counter to what we believe as Americans, that's the problem. And I don't want the culture of communism or Marxism or Islamism into America because it doesn't fit with America. All of these things are a counter to what we believe, and it will destroy us. So be careful when you say all cultures are welcome here, because I would imagine you and I both, let's take it to an extreme. Would you welcome the Nazi cultures to come into America? I hope not. I wouldn't. Do you want the KKK culture to be a part of America? I don't want it anywhere. And there's certain cultures in America that we should say, this is not who we are, and we need to stand against it and fight against it. So when you say, hey, multiculturalism, let's just bring it all in, that's really bad. We shouldn't do that. We need to say, here's who we are. This is what America believes. This is what our culture is. If you want to assimilate into that, you're more than welcome to come. You don't have to get rid of where you came from. You can have your celebrations of the past and the heritage that you're from. That's beautiful. Heaven is going to be very colorful, full of many different people, many different colors, many different cultures, but they will all assimilate into one culture. And that'll be the culture of heaven. America should do the same thing. You can come, assimilate into our culture. That's the big issue. I'm not just saying multiculturalism and let's live and let live. We have to defend the American culture. We really have to define it so that we can first then defend it as well. And once we do that, I think we will be setting the stage for many years of blessings in places like Indiana and beyond. Our next question comes from Josh Young in Indianapolis. Josh writes, I've received a lot of hate from uneducated liberals for supporting mass deportations. What is your response to the left who calls us racist simply for caring about the sovereignty of our nation? Well, Josh, I want to encourage you. I receive a lot of that same exact hate from uneducated people who have no idea what's really going on underneath the surface. When you have 4 years under the Biden administration of mass illegal immigration, the only way to clean it up is mass deportation. And a lot of people get hurt when that happens, and I understand that. But because of failure at the border under the Democrat leadership of 4 years of Biden, we have ultimately seen no other way to clean this up than to say, hey, we're going to have to send everybody back to where they came from, and you're going to have to get in line the right way and come through legally, or else you can't be here. This is not racist. This is not unloving. Actually, this is very loving because you're loving the people who are here legally. You're loving your neighbors when you say that to those that shouldn't be here and have broken in illegally, hey, we got to get you out. And so what a mass deportation rally says to me is that we love our neighbors of Indiana who are here legally. We love this nation. We love our state. And we're willing to do the hard things and speak the hard truths so that we can maintain and steward and care for what God has given us in the state of Indiana. And I'll say this, when you speak truth, Josh, just remember, you're always going to be hated in a world full of lies. So just get used to it. It's not the first time that's happened. It won't be the last, but know that there's somebody greater than you and I who also did the same thing, and his name was Christ. He came, he brought truth into a world full of lies. They've said the exact same things about him that they're saying about you and I, and they killed him for it. They hated him that much, and they killed him for it. And so if you're being hated for speaking truth, just know you can consider it all joy because Jesus Christ first did that for you and I, and we should do it for those in the world as well. Go out and speak truth because you love them, not because you're a hater or a racist or any other thing like that. It's really, you're doing it out of a heart of love, which is modeling the heart of God. So thank you, Josh. Keep it up. Our next question comes from Benjamin Handel. Benjamin writes, would you be willing to meet me for a backyard wrestling match? Thank you for your question. Let's see a picture of what Benjamin looks like. No. Our next question comes from Tyler DeLong. Tyler writes, why is it okay to silence Islamic calls to prayer but not church bells? Church bells are a part of American culture and history. Islamic calls to prayer are not. If people want Islamic calls to prayer, I would encourage them to go to nations where that is part of their heritage and history. It's not that way in America, and it shouldn't be that way in America. Listen, when you're calling people to pray, if you want to pray Islamic calls to prayer, we have technology. A mosque, all they have to do is send out a text message to all of their members, and they can do it that way. We do not need to blare out Islamic calls across the communities of Indiana, nor should we ever allow that. Again, go back to who we are as a culture and as an American nation, and let's stand on those values and those principles first and foremost. Islamic ideals are not that. Our next question comes from Dan Ogletree. He writes, what is your take on the Indiana Fever head coach supporting transgender rights and Caitlin Clark remaining neutral in the whole Sophie Cunningham debate? Well, Dan, I think it's absolute insanity going on right now in the WNBA. Do you know what the W stands for? Women's, all right? Women's National Basketball Association. I think we got to get back to just playing basketball and focusing on things that are real and not fake, like a man wanting to be a woman. I'm telling you right now, the last 20 years, nobody has cared one bit what the WNBA has been doing, and we had a gift fall into our lap here in Indiana with Caitlin Clark and now Sophie Cunningham, the two most dynamic players in the league, and they are incredible gifts to the state and to what the WNBA is actually, I think, has wanted for many years. And then you have, I'm just gonna, like, idiots as coaches saying, well, we're not educated enough to know the difference between a man and a woman. Or you have the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx wearing a trans kid's shirt. Does she not realize the moment you start letting men play in this league, everything they fought for to get women involved in sports for the last 5 decades will go out the window? And really, I love what Clay Travis is doing. He's putting up $10 million to have the Las Vegas women's basketball team play against a national champ high school boys basketball team, and he's putting $10 million on the line for the winner. I think that he should do it. I think they should do it. I think if they really want to see what it's like for women and men to play against each other, then do that. And I think you'll be shocked at the biological differences if you don't know already what they are. You're going to see reality set in real fast. Our next question comes from Michael Snyder. Michael writes, do you represent the people of Indiana or Donald J. Trump? Well, Michael, President Trump did win Indiana by 19 points, so I guess both. Our next question comes from Tiki Orr. Tiki writes, thank you for all you're doing for us. I want you to know that many of us see what's happening and support you. Tiki, that really means a lot, and you're right. There are so many God-fearing patriots, people who love America, love their neighbor, and want to see this nation preserved for future generations, who have constantly been reaching out to us saying, thanks for speaking up, thanks for fighting the good fight, Lieutenant Governor, we're on your side. There's a whole lot of us in this fight together. You may not always see them, they don't tend to be the loudest, but they are certainly passionate and they're very, very engaged. So thank you for saying that. Now, I will tell you, I am a bit hesitant about this question because I've noticed in the Ask Micah Anythings that when my staff puts a nice question or a nice comment like yours, usually it's followed by something that's horrible and very mean and not nice. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but thank you, Tiki. Let's move on to the next question. Next question comes from Tim Klein. Tim writes, do you use any special assistance like a shoehorn or Vaseline to help put your skinny jeans on? Thank you, Tim. I would like you to know that you are body shaming me, and I'm not happy about that. Next question. Gail in Muncie writes, explain it to me like I'm 5. How does our state have $1 billion surplus, yet our roads are absolutely horrible? Well, Gail, you are hitting on something that I absolutely agree with. I'm not just a lieutenant governor, I'm also a citizen, and we drive the same roads every single day, and there are times where I'm like, what is going on? It's kind of complicated. There's city roads, county roads, state roads, and federal roads, and they all come from different pots to maintain. But I will say this, I do think our legislature, when it comes to funding, could fund NDOT better. We've got a ton of roads. We are the crossroads of America. I think more than anything else, it's the government's job to build and maintain good infrastructure for its citizens, things that you and I cannot do on our own as private individuals. Roads are one of the main things. I am going to make some conversations and some calls with some legislators to talk about how can we bolster the Indiana Department of Transportation's, I would say, coffers a little bit so we can make sure that these roads are the best in the nation. They should be. We should take pride of being the crossroads of America. So thank you for your question. You're absolutely right, and we'll get on this. Our next question comes from Harvey Bakinger. Harvey asks, did Joe Biden win the 2020 presidential election? I'm going to tell you right now, there is no way in God's green earth Joe Biden received 81 million votes, the most in history. There's no way he got more votes from the black community than President Barack Obama did. I don't think there's really a way to know who won because we don't know what Joe Biden actually got. The mail-in balloting, all the fraud going on in places all over the country during COVID. Joe Biden never came out of his basement. We never saw him. There is no way that man received 81 million votes. Again, the most in presidential history. So who won? I don't think we'll know. But I'm telling you right now, it was a heck of a lot closer than what it was on paper. And so will we know? Maybe, maybe not. But there's a lot of fraud going on. We see this with our very own Scott Pressler. He's somebody that's exposing fraud in Pennsylvania right now. They are cleaning the voter rolls. They have had thousands of people voting that shouldn't be voting. This is a huge issue in America. We need to take it seriously. People who vote should be legal residents, citizens of this nation. They should be not dead, for one, and they should vote only one time in their state that they live. That's it. And if you don't like it, well, too bad. That's how the rules are. That's how this nation is set up. So all that to say, I'm not going to get the answer that you probably want or I want because I don't think we'll really know. But I'm going to tell you right now, Joe Biden definitely did not receive 81 million votes in 2020. Our next question comes from Sam Riddle. Sam writes, what's being done to de-incentivize foreign nationals from absorbing all of the housing and benefits in central Indiana? Well, Sam, this is a big issue in Indiana and across the nation. We have been bending over backwards, giving away our house and our homes to people who don't even live here. They're not from here. They're coming in illegally in many cases. So a couple things. One, let's get those who are here illegally out. That will take care of a lot of the housing issues, right? They have to live somewhere. We've got thousands of illegal immigrants in Indiana. You get rid of them, then they are freeing up those housing the spaces where they were living. So I think that's job one. Job two, let's make sure legislation is passed to curtail all of the benefits that go to illegals and people who shouldn't be getting them. And we had a bill like that last session. Senator Chris Garton led the charge on that to make sure that those SNAP benefits and other types of assistance that the government would otherwise be giving is not going to people who are not here legally. It's not, and they're not able to spend it on things like sugar or sweets or things that really aren't life-sustaining. This is to help you get back on your feet. It's not to sustain you forever, and you need to get off of benefits as quick as possible. That should be the goal of any government entitlement program. So all of that to say, there's multiple things happening. We are doing both. We are getting people who are here illegally out, working with ICE. We're proud to do that. Governor Braun's done a great job with that. And our legislature is making sure the waste, fraud, and abuse within benefits are being tightened. And we're trying to get rid of every single waste and penny that's being abused or is in fraud. Every single penny we want to go to the right place. Oh, and last thing I'll say too, how about we deal with the H-1B visas? I'm not a big fan of those right now because we don't need more foreign workers coming into America. We've got plenty of workers here. Let's make sure that we are giving Americans and Hoosiers jobs first and foremost. And then, if there's still jobs out there that we need to go looking elsewhere, we can. But we've got plenty of people looking for good jobs right here in Indiana. Let's take care of our own first. Next question comes from Jamie Hardesty. Jamie writes, end property taxes, especially for homeowners, and referendums, and show more support for J.D. Prescott's bill. help get this passed. Well, Jamie, I don't think there's anybody out there that's been more supportive of J.D. Prescott's bill than myself. I'm doing a town hall with him, and we will continue to do town halls with him to talk about his bill specifically. My life's goal, if one thing I can do in government, in office, is to end property taxes, especially for homeowners, just like you said. I think we're going to get it done. Could be this session, could be the next session. I think there's a good chance this session we could actually see that happen. But I am out there supporting JD's plan. There's some other good plans that might have more momentum going into the session. But all that to say, the goal is to end property taxes, especially for homeowners. So let's get it done. The conversation is booming now, and that's in large part to me and what I did when I ran for office. I ran to make this an issue because it was an issue. I heard about it from Hoosiers all over the state, and nobody in the legislature seemed to be taking it seriously. Governor Braun and I said we're gonna tackle this, and we did. And it made a lot of people mad. We didn't get it right 100%, and so we're gonna tackle it again. This is a big issue. We're not backing down until homeowners actually own their own home. It's not your property if you have to pay the government rent to stay there. Our next question comes from Salk Mary Beth. Salk writes, where is Mitch McConnell? Well, Salk, a couple things. I'm a big supporter of term limits for members of Congress. I used to be the U.S. term limit chairman here in Indiana. Strongly believe members of Congress should have terms. I also believe that members of Congress should be barred from insider trading while members of Congress. And finally, I believe as a member of Congress, you should be able to prove that you're alive. Those are my stipulations. Our next question comes from Buddy West. Buddy writes, you are not credible. Why would anyone ask you anything? Hey, Buddy, you just wrote in and asked me a question, as well as 2,000 other people wrote in to ask questions. So I guess somebody thinks I'm credible. Thanks for the question. Our next question comes from Sayward Salazar. Sayward asks, why is it more important to gut the public school system by providing vouchers for private schools than build up our public institutions to a level that would surpass our national standards? Well, Sayward, I would ask you this, how much money do you need to get us to that level? Because right now, almost half of our entire state budget goes to education. We have 290 school districts in Indiana. We have $46 billion budget, roughly biannual budget, about 22 to 23 billion dollars of that goes to education. If that's not enough to get us to those standards, both in public, private, charter, then how much do you need? Do you want us to spend 60% of our entire budget, 70%, 80%? Heck, let's just get rid of all other government spending. Let's get rid of police, roads, all those other things, and just put it all towards public schools. Would that be enough? Please respond to this with the answer. I'm genuinely asking, what is the number out of a $46 billion biannual budget? How much money would that be? Anytime I ask teachers that or superintendents that are jockeying for more money, I just say, tell us the number and I'll fight for it because I believe in good education all over the board. And they never have a number. They never tell me, well, we need 60% of our entire state budget needs to go to education or 70%. Just give me a number. I think right now, $22 billion out of a $46 billion budget is plenty. By the way, that doesn't even include your property taxes. There's another $7 billion that gets added on in property taxes as well. That should be plenty. And by the way, parents have a right to send their kids to the school of their choice. I love vouchers. I think we've got a great voucher program because your tax dollars as a parent should send the school to your choice that you want your child to go to. That's just freedom to choose. And we should be respecting that when it comes to education here in Indiana. Our next question comes from Chris Miller from Columbia City. Chris writes, does Notre Dame have a chance of winning the national championship in January? Possibly. They're ranked pretty well going into the start of the season, but isn't it crazy and awesome at the same time that Indiana has now become the college football capital of the world? I think that's awesome. IU's defending champs. We got Notre Dame up there, ranked well. It's going to be a great season. Our next question comes from Bruce Green. Bruce writes, what are your job duties as lieutenant governor, and why aren't you doing them? Okay, I know this is called Ask Micah Anything, but I'm going to change up the title here real quick, and I'm going to ask Bruce something. All right, so Bruce, if you don't know what my job responsibilities and duties are, how do you know I'm not doing them? That's a ridiculous question. Final question comes from Jacob Kayla in South Bend. Jacob writes, what's a small step us Hoosiers can do to make Indiana great again? Well, Jacob, I love that you're thinking this way. Two very simple things. We need every Hoosier that has an American ideal and the value system that made this country great. Please show up and speak up. So we need your voice. Jacob, wherever you are, you have a platform. We should never desire fame. We should desire influence so that we can help move everyone in the right direction. And so don't do it to get famous or rich or for self-serving interests. Do it because it's the right thing to do, and you've got influence. I don't know who you are, Jacob, but I promise you there are people in your life that you can move in the right direction, but you got to show up and you got to speak up. And so that goes for all of us, whether you're in school, whether you're a business owner, whether you have a 9-to-5 job, whether you're a politician, and everyone in between. You've got influence. Use it, and use it to promote American values, define those values, and shout them from the rooftops. So thank you for asking that question, Jacob. Proud of you for at least speaking up and Ask Micah Anything here. So God bless you, and God bless this great state of Indiana.